Somebody had to put the .303-inch Browning machine guns into the wings of Spitfires, and I'm really proud that Big Davy did. I love to tell people I was at my grand's wedding. I was at my grand's wedding just to see the look in their face, see the wee reaction. It's no as shocked these days as it was in 1983, and it shouldn't be a shock these days in 1983. But when you're 13 years old, it's great to go up to your teacher and say, I need Friday off. Why is that, Alec? Because I'm going to my grand's wedding. I'm going to need a note from your mum and dad, Alec, and maybe also to send social services round to the Anderson household, even in North Ayrshire, where there's a reputation for families being a bit overlappy, a bit too intimate. It was still quite good 40 odd years ago to be saying, I'm going to my grand's wedding. It was good. It was a lovely day. My paternal grandfather died in the early 1960s, years before I was born. Cancer. You know, I was a 33-year-old, cancer, and cancer's still taking so many folk so young from my grand's family just this week. All over the Three Towns, all over the west of Scotland, all over Scotland. And I never knew him, but I feel as if I know him through like my dad and through my aunties and maybe through my own kind of personality and what have you. But he didn't believe in insurance, as a lot of people back then didn't really want to pay the premiums anyway. A lot of people just thought insurance was a total con. So he dies, leaves my gran in her early 30s, no life insurance or anything like that. He wasn't old enough to be getting a pension or anything. So she's got to bring up 5 kids. You know, my dad's the oldest at 14, he's got 4 wee sisters. She's got, what, 2, 3 jobs at a time to bring up 5 kids on their own, and they're all, as soon as I finished school, they're going out to work. But it was years before my gran found love again, as they say. And I'm the oldest of the grandchildren, so I remember I called him Big Davy. You know, my younger cousins would start calling him Pappy. They were calling him Pappy because he fulfilled that kind of role of a papa, whatever. A step grandpa, strictly speaking, but he was so much more than that. So we used to wind him up about how kind of fairy tale evil that sounded. But I was just old enough. I could just remember him being new on the scene, new in all our life. So I always just called him Big Davy, you know. My younger cousin Joe, I think he was the same as well. But he was in the Masons, Big D. He was, I mean, proper in the Masons, like high. Was it Grandmaster? I'm not. I was never interested in that kind of stuff. So he's right high up in the Masons. It used to get irked that there was all these things you get in the local papers where the guys sit with their aprons on and all that, and they're getting their photograph taken to be in. It was the Rustin Salkits Herald in our case. It used to wind Davy up, because he thought that was, you're supposed to be keeping it amongst yourselves, amongst the brothers, or whatever you call each other. My gran died in her 60s, in the 90s, late 90s, 97. And it was devastating for the whole family. Which basically, it was a bit when Marshal Tito died. Yugoslavia started splitting up and crumbling into warring factions. That's basically what happened when my gran died. But Davy lived on until his 90s, so he kept everything kind of held together just through him still being there. We'd go and visit. You could go and visit my gran's house, and Davy's there. He's part of that vibe and what have you. So he was a really important figure in the lives. But in the 70s and 80s, I'd be going out to my grand's on a Sunday, the same as everybody else, and I would be moaning to my gran about Rangers, how they getting beat crap over crap from the kind of late 70s up to the mid 80s, and she's a child of the Bill Struth era. I just don't understand it. Rangers were just never lose like this when I was a girl. And I would talk to Davy, though Davy was the juniors, he was on committees and all that, and he would, amateur football and what have you, he was closely involved with all that kind of stuff. He didn't like senior football, he would tell us, wouldn't pay to go and watch a senior game, but he's also not in any way bigoted, but he didn't care who beat Celtic. I'm not in any way biased, I just don't care who beat Celtic. And he would only watch Sports Scene on a Sunday if it was a Celtic game on and they were getting beat. So that's quite good. A wee giveaway there, but I would talk to him. I would try and talk to him about the Second World War, and he wasn't having it. And he was, but just gentle stories. He didn't see any action. It was RAF ground staff he was involved in, but it's over in India. Just in the days, you just go in a boat and away you went to wherever the enemy was or wherever we were taking them on. Unbelievable. And it was an industry in those days when I was growing up, in the 70s and 80s. I would get my Victor, Warlord, Battle, or the comics and that in the annuals at Christmas. Airfix soldiers, German infantry, British infantry, paratroopers, Russian infantry. Had more airfix tanks than was actual tanks at the Battle of Kursk. And it was like what Fortnite's like for kids these days. It was fun. We're all fascinated. All the war films on the telly and that. And it's only as you grow up and you get on and you look at it, it was because the world was still in the middle of the Second World War, really the after effect for the fallout, the kind of geopolitical effect of it, the economic effect of it, and yet we were surrounded by people who had lived it, who'd been through it, and they weren't ranting and raving about it at all. The only time Big Davy would talk about it, really, off the top of it, just unsolicited, would be if there was a film on the telly. And he was checking out in later years. He wanted a film, to ring it off on the paper, the TV page in the paper, so he had something to watch and tell us. And he's like, "No, I've seen that one before." "Oh, was it on last week, Davy?" "No, I saw it in the mess hall in 1943. I'm like, all right. This kind of stuff. I don't know what. So I don't know, it was George Michael or something. There was, some expose, because that's when I was a kid. People, you couldn't just be gay. You were exposed as being gay, and it must have brought it up in conversation. And Davy telling us about when he was on the boat coming back from India, still a callow youth comparatively, at the end of the war. And he was a ballroom dancer. He was a good, well, everybody did the kind of ballroom dancing. Good, I know it's like at weddings, the older guys would always be pretty smooth with the dancing. If the dance hall days, that'll be how he managed to grab my gran. Eventually, he could hear music coming from a room. Somebody had an actual kind of gramophone discs and all that. It was a room, sorry, a cabin, and he just kind of went in because it's all blokes together. So he just went in to see what was happening. There was two guys in uniform dancing, and Davey thought at the time, "Oh, that's good, quite right. Get the practice in, because once we get back, we're going to dance halls, and all the women will be there, and we'll be able to. We want to dance with folk, So it's good there, get the practice in." And he says it was about 20 years later before he realised, oh no, they were a couple. That's what it was. I suppose they were just having a wee moment to themselves. But the one story I always remember that he did let slip was him going up to enlist for Stevenson. David died. It was in his 90s before he died, and his funeral. We went to it was in the Sonic Hall, the wake, so to speak, and that was quite really interesting. Get taken into I don't know what he's called, the temple or whatever it is, the boys, the Masons. It was really interesting, but he was right high up in that. But I remember him talking about, just because it was in Stevenson, going up to Glasgow to enlist. Well, the war has broken it, and he went up to enlist, and I don't know if it was in the city chambers or something like that, but he's walking through Glasgow Central up, towards kind of St Vincent Street and George Square, and he just thought there was somebody following him. He could get this feeling, he just turned around and somebody ducked behind a wall or whatever, and he thought, I know who that is. And he went back, it was his wee sister. She'd sneaked onto the train. His wee sister had sneaked onto the train because she thought that would be it. She thought that was him going. As soon as he went and enlisted, that was it. He's just away to Germany to fight Hitler. And she was terrified she wasn't going to see her big brother again, but she did, and Davy had a safe war. When he got through it anyway, he never really saw any combat, but he was helping other guys go to combat and what have you, and a lot of, millions of people weren't that lucky. And we need our armed forces. I'm really proud of them. It's something I've grown up with. Just kind of fascinated by it, but also, you get Vladimir Putin just now, you see what he's doing. Maybe the Americans are going to pull out of NATO, we're going to be left pretty exposed. And you see what our service people go through after, when they're demobbed or whatever, when they commit to services. A lot of them, the rates of alcoholism and homelessness and what have you, they're going out there looking after it. They're keeping us safe. Be absolutely under no illusions about it. I'm not kind of militaristic or into the idea that it's kind of fascistic ideas or anything like that. It's basically the opposite of that. Is to keep that shit at bay, because there's a lot of people out there who want to do harm to us. We definitely do need our armed services. I don't know that Rangers, I don't know that we should be seeing it as just being our duty to. I don't think it is everybody's duty. If you don't want to, if you don't want to commemorate stuff, you don't have to commemorate this stuff. You don't have to remember. You don't have to have anything to do with it if you don't want to. But I think I'm really proud that we do commemorate it, and we need these people. I've got members of my family, other members of my family, my cousin Bernard, my mum's side of the family. He's in the army his whole life. I think, and my cousin Paul as well. My aunt Brenda, her son, one of the loveliest boys you could ever meet in your life. He was just in the TA, and he ends up in Helmand Province. Fucking shitness. It was unbelievable, but I don't think he had get caught up in anything, which was anything too bad or anything like that. But he was over there, and it's absolutely terrified. And my mate Ronnie, we were kind of kicking about at school and that secondary school, and starting to go up and see Rangers and that together and what have you, and getting into fights, dressing in sockets, and just as teenagers as you do. And Ronnie decided to take that a step further and go into the army while I disappeared up my arse and went to Glasgow. But I bumped into Ronnie. He'd been a cracking life out of it, and he's been in some very scary places, seen some very scary stuff. But I mean, it can be sockets, so obviously it's not a problem. You know, I mean, it's nothing scarier than trying to go for a walk down Hamilton Street on a Friday night. But I met him a couple of years ago, Ronnie, and he's doing great. But I'm glad we do this, and it's going to be a nice day tomorrow before the game even kicks off. How you doing, folks? This is your Fatek. Having had a Heidenheim home humping, Hearts hope to hinder, hamper and handicap our humble haphazard heroes and harass our handsome but hysterical heathen hordes at Heavenly Heimat Hybrox. Preview pod coming to you in association with Jersney. I wasn't reading that, my handwriting's terrible. Coming to you in association with Jersney. I'm sponsored by Jersney. Jersney, last night, Friday night preview pod, it was Craig and it was Colin, the two of them. The boys are on great form, going over the events of Thursday night mainly in Piraeus, so check that out, folks. It's still up there on Jersney. It's a really good pod there. I'm sponsored by them, and I'm also sponsored by Chocolate Sweets. Well, actually, the campaign against anti-Rangers chocolate sweets. If you don't mind, I mean, I'm a big fan of these, but Bounty Bar. Okay, so I don't know what you're like on a Saturday when Rangers aren't playing, and Rangers hardly play on a Saturday. We're going to play it Saturday 3 o'clock at Ibrox. When we played Dundee United, when we come back for international break, that's just a miracle. That's the first that's happened this season. You know, we only played once at Hampden at 3 o'clock on Saturday this season. So, but it's a Europa League season, and I like to go to a game on a Saturday. I still got it in the system, you know, but because I had that wee holiday I've told you about, you know, back at the beginning of the year to celebrate the old wedding anniversary. That money's too tight to mention. It's not really. Kind of tighten the purse strings, so I'm not going to juniors. I wasn't going to go to a non-league game. Sorry, the day I wasn't going to go to a non-league game. But I've got all these TV channels, with all the sports channels, lots of live football on, English football league stuff and all that. I'm just no interested. You know, it's no. I watch Rangers on a Saturday in the telly, but the one time I can't really watch football on the telly, like neutral football. I watch India playing football. It's Saturday 3 o'clock. I need to be at a game. It needs to be a Rangers game, so I'm totally invested, or I'm not interested, because it just feels wrong. You know, it's just letting you know what you're missing, kind of thing. So I was trying to distract myself with that today, and I'd watched a wee bit of the old EFL. Is it Blackburn Rovers away to Cardiff, and Cardiff City, and there was good old Todd Cantwell playing, and he's putting the guy through from the build up to Blackburn's first goal, and then it goes to half time, and Chris Sutton's doing the comparing or whatever. He's in the studio, and I'm thinking, hey, Rooney Sutton, Cantwell's having a great game, you know, and I'm like, this is desperate. I'm like, come on, need to do something. So I'll go and get the food in for the night, and I go into Morrison's, and I'm going to get myself some sweeties, get some grub, because I'll try to stay off the drink as well this weekend, have a weekend on, a weekend off, you know. And I thought I'll get myself a Bounty Bar. And I'm like, oh, taste of paradise. I taste of paradise. You know what I mean? That's I'd like to get the I like fries creams, and they did these wee 3-packs in Morrison's, like £1.35 for 3 of them. Bring it on, blue packets and all that, great taste. There's a fella in front of me, and he can't get into the chocolate bits. I can't get into them for him. You know, he's trying to find something. He's pulling all the boxes out. I'm like, mate, take it easy. You know. Then I realise he's looking for the blue fries creams. They're not there. There's none. You know, I mean, this guy's probably getting sweets in for his grandmains. I'm actually getting for myself. So I need to get fries. I've got a taste for the fries creams. This is the peppermint ones, green and white. The next couple of weeks, international break, I can get all the pea and ham soups and that I want. I've told you that before. I love pea and ham soup. It's my favourite kind of soup, but I can't have it for most of the season. I can't have it most of the year. It's only when Rangers aren't playing, we don't have a game scheduled, that I can get something that's green, I mean, I'm going to go to Scotland game next Friday night, but it's like Scotland, that, and it's into them as into Rangers, and I don't think Croatia playing green and white, but aye, only the fries, peppermint, cream in the green, and I thought, well, Alec, this is getting silly. The superstition thing is getting really silly, and I know Celtic are playing them more. I'll be playing straight after them and that, but it's just, you've got to you're supposed to be more intelligent than this. You don't believe in this hocus pocus stuff. So I got this, I went round the roads and I sat down to have the first one, and David Turnbull's scoring a penalty for Cardiff. Well, David Turnbull, last time I saw him scoring a penalty against us, and a 4-0 doing for Rangers under Postecoglou. I'm like, switch this off. This is the chocolates that's totally turning it round. And even the other day, I'm doing my preview pod for the Olympiacos game, and I'm talking about how I'd been a bit narky on the Gersnet podcast the previous Fridays because I was hangry, and I was talking about that famous advert for Snickers. You're like a diva when you're hungry, and puts it Joan Collins and Stephanie Beecham and that kind of thing. And I've been doing all the Greek puns as well all the way through it, and it was Gogol Bordello. Mike got in touch in the preview, and he's like, Alex, Snickers, you're missing out a great pun there. Snickers, like marathon, it's called marathon. No, the marathon, the Greek that ran the first ever marathon. That's why we call it marathons. And I thought, I'm actually, that's why we got a draw. That's how we ended up dropping 2 points. 2 points dropped it was in Piraeus in Europa League. That's why Dessa's missing their chances, because I've jinxed it by putting Greek references into a pro Rangers preview pod. You can't get it right. Could somebody tell me any? I think there's orange peppermint creams, but that's a bit on that. I'm not into all the Orange Lodge stuff and that. I mean, I'm nothing against that. I mean, you do what you want. It's just, I think that's a bit too much. There should be a nice blue chocolate. I mean, Yorkies and a blue wrapper. Duke of York. I don't know. It's just, anybody knows any kind of lucky Rangers sweets, let me know. I'm on the campaign against anti-Rangers chocolate sweets. My name's Alec Anderson. These things take time. I know that I'm the most inept that ever stepped. The most inept that ever stepped. I don't think Philip Clement is, though. I don't think Philip Clement is the most inept that ever stepped. I think even before he arrived at Ibrox, we could tell from his CV that he wasn't going to be the most inept CV ever to arrive at Ibrox as manager. I think we could tell with the bounce, the new manager bounce that we got straight away when Philip Clement arrived, beating Hibs 4-0, beating Hearts with a last minute winner at Ibrox, and on we went in a great run. That kind of tailed off with a defeat at Parkhead, but we could also see that this guy was not in any way inept the way he bounced back for that, and we ended up going top of the league with a squad that was kind of starting to fall to bits because of injuries and what have you. February into March, the peak of the kind of temporary, the kind of fake almost league challenge, the title challenge that we put in under Clement, was beating Hearts 5-0, arguably still his best domestic performance, beating Hearts 5-0 at Ibrox, our opponents tomorrow, when all three of Philip Clement's January signings scored and Cyril Dessers got 2. But I think we can tell what he's doing in Europe as well, that this guy is far from inept. Just, we're in that, with Rangers, I've never known a time when Rangers supporters aren't angry. We are. It's in the name, angers. And it's not really about trying to get rid of the anger. That's never going to happen. It's the type of anger. And I think we've seen a real height of anger, a real trough of belief in the manager quite recently, and then it's starting to come back incrementally, very slowly, and we need to keep that going tomorrow, because we have got Dundee United and Motherwell after today's results. This is Saturday night, I'm recording this. Aberdeen, I've got 12 points clear of us, and I think plus a lot of loose change there as well in terms of the goal difference. Dundee United and Motherwell are level with us on points. We're only in front of them on goal difference. Now they've played, Motherwell was just, we'll catch up with their games total tomorrow, but Dundee United have played one game extra. But I think if Hearts beat us 5-0 or something, we can actually slip to 4th tomorrow night. So it's quite, there's still room there for it to be. We go into international break and everybody hates Philip Clement, all the loudest fans, or the maybe more kind of short-term thinking. Basically, it'd be justified. There would be justification to it if we don't beat Hearts tomorrow for the anger stepping up with Philip Clement. But I think over the last few weeks, we had that performance at Pittodrie. I think that's where it hit a real all-time low for him. Even though, for me, there it's still the boardroom. There's nobody in the boardroom. We don't have all these key positions filled. We started off at a different stadium, as our home stadium this season. The manager got rid of 16 players and he brought in 11 during the summer. That wouldn't be enough in itself, except that even the quality of players that he's bringing in are down on the players that he sold, the quality they were when they arrived. The players he got rid of. So I think it's huge turnover of players. It is a reset. Aberdeen did not have Europe. They did not have Europe. Hearts, they're on their third manager. One of them was temporary already this season. They come into it. Well, basically, they get rid of Stephen Naismith. I think their little dalliance in Europe, just to qualify in the playoff round, which they failed at. Victoria Pilsen beaten Hearts in the playoff round for the Europa League, and now they're in the Conference League under this Neil Critchley. That's terrible. Sorry, Neil Critchley. They're doing really well in that just now, but it's what a toll it's taken on them. They're down second bottom in the league. You saw what happened with Kilmarnock. Derek McInnes is usually often the third best in Scotland. He's first best outside the Old Firm, if you like. Kilmarnock just had a wee dalliance in Europe as well this season, and it's really hit their form. They were right down the top of the league, bouncing back from it now that they're out of Europe. St Mirren under Stephen Robinson doing really well to qualify for Europe, and it's really hit them hard. Being in Europe has really hit them hard at the beginning part of this season. So I think Aberdeen aren't in that, and they've got a level of money, a level of organisation in the board that finally they've managed to put together. They've found a good manager. So when we played Aberdeen that night, Pittodrie, they are just... And we saw they get pumped 6-0 in the next game of Celtic. It was like a European game for Aberdeen that night. They played us at Pittodrie. So I think we're being a bit harsh on the manager when we've had like 5 European games up to that point. 4 or 5 European games up to the point that we played Aberdeen at Pittodrie. Players are still bedding in, etc. But no doubt about it, it was a terrible performance for the most part, and a lot of anger. Everybody's got to go. The manager's got to go. Players have got to go. Just everything's crap. And then we played Motherwell last week in the League Cup semi-final, and we got a goal down. That's it. It's all over. They're booing. We're booing our own players. Booed them back onto the park in the second half. I've never heard that before. James Tavernier's getting booed as captain and stuff. It was an absolute nightmare. I felt as if when we did turn it round, I was singing Ibroxonia for the last... We scored the second goal, 9 minutes to go, 11 minutes to go. And in the injury time, Ibroxonia was just constant. And the whole play, it was mildly bouncing. It wasn't ecstatic, but it was nice. It was an emotional song, but it was been sung for an emotional reason. We'd turned it round a bit. But yet, this was more of an internet anger. People were telling me that, no, it was shocking, it was awful, it was almost as bad as getting beat. We might as well have get beat because Celtic are going to tank us in the final and this kind of stuff. I thought that's no ringing true exactly, but I can see Tav's get taken off. Finally, the managers realised the problem with Tav. This was last Sunday. Dessers, we were much better when Dessers went off as well as Tav. So it was a slight kind of, it was being... Rather than being upbeat, God forbid, or optimistic, or putting the good points, the bonuses, the things that come out of that game that were actually pretty positive about, we're putting them in angry terms. There were still criticisms. Why hasn't the manager realised this earlier? And then on Thursday night in Piraeus, we're angry because we didn't win, and that's a mock. You're putting that on. It's a bit frustrating. We should always be frustrated. We should always be pushing for more, but it was a great performance. It was a great result, and we're getting to that point where it's like, we're not looking for stuff to be angry about. Missing the 4 or 5 good chances that Dessers did. We should be angry about that stuff. But I think you can feel a real kind of amelioration of the rage sort of thing. But tomorrow we can either kind of put it to bed properly and give ourselves 2 weeks of feeling a bit more positive about the team, or not being as negative, put it that way. Or we could go right back to square one and be totally raging. Look, folks, this is if you've got time, if you're really desperate, you can check out the reaction pod I did to the result against Olympiacos the other night. It's well over an hour long. The preview pod was well over an hour long. I didn't get that out until the day of the game either, so I've been hitting you with far too much stuff this week. I've put the reaction pod into little chapters now. I've learned how to do that on YouTube, so you can just pick and choose. There's little chapter headings. You know how to do that when you're navigating kind of longer pods. That make it if you want to check that out. But tonight I want to try and make this as quick as possible. I've already talked for 24 minutes. I'll try to do one of these proper Rangers pods. That's like half hour, bang, that's it. And just goes stats, hits you with everything you need to know. Pretty slick, pretty late. So let's. I've crunched the numbers and I've run the data. And I have found out that I've seen Hearts 76 times in my life. 76 times I've seen Hearts in the flesh. For only 2 or 3 times I've seen them playing anybody else other than Rangers. But tomorrow's the 77th time I've seen Hearts, and this is we're going to go deep dive into footballogy. And you get the footballogy app that tells you the games you've been to and what have you. You just put in all the games you've been to. And you're like, I haven't put in all the Rangers games I've been to. I'm sure there's a few that I still haven't put in, but according to footballogy, I have seen Rangers 913 times. And as you would think out of that, maybe you'd have seen Hearts more times. This is obviously the opponents. It's the same games we're talking about here. 76 of those, or 70 maybe of those games, it was Rangers that Hearts were playing, so there's a crossover there. But it's Rangers 913 times, Scotland 92 times, Celtic 83 times, Hearts 76 in 4th place. In 5th place it's Hibs. I've seen Hibs 70 times. And in 6th it's Aberdeen 65 times. So it's a kind of, there's a wee bit, it's obviously Aberdeen geographically, there'll be midweek games and stuff like that. I didn't get to go and see Aberdeen at Pittodrie playing Rangers, obviously, because it was too far away or whatever like that. Whereas Hibs, Edinburgh, a bit easier to get to. But other than that, it's the most successful, biggest supports in Scotland. I think Aberdeen obviously come after Hearts in terms of support, then Hibs would be down there. But like Scotland, I've seen Scotland 92 times, seen Rangers 913 times. It's a tenth. And that's the way it should be, isn't it? And Scotland have only played like less than 900 games internationally. So I've seen over a tenth of all games Scotland have ever played, and I've never seen them outside Hampden and Wembley, well, outside Scotland and Wembley. So that's pretty good, but it's still a tenth. And if people say, well, why do you go and see Scotland? Oh, the SFA did this to Rangers, did that to Rangers. Some of their fans hate Rangers. Well, apart from anything else, it means that Celtic are the team I've seen second most often. That's just the perverse thing about football rivalries, particularly this one we have in Scotland. But Celtic 83. So I've seen Hearts 76 times. The first time was 1984, and I remember it. I was a young man, I was 14. I'd just been to my grand's wedding, and there I was watching Hearts at Ibrox for the first time. I think they just come up with the Championship or the First Division quite recently, and it was the massive support they had with them. I wasn't going to football every week. I started that season actually going every week, and they had this huge support the whole of the top of the Broomloan. Rangers were crap, so we're letting as many away fans as possible into the stadium in those days, and they were wearing that kind of away kit in which they classically lost the league in the last day of the season, 85-86, and then lost the Scottish Cup final the following week. The silver top, maroon shorts, and the silver socks, and yeah, it was Davy Bowman's thighs. He was absolutely massive. I remember that. Davy Bowman just looked like an absolute animal, an absolute unit. He looked like a German midfielder, Davy Bowman. He just. But it was something else in the songs. This Hearts were almost in your actual Athens the other night. Desser's sending that defender just sailing right past them into a trireme, one of the yards that used to build the triremes, and the port of Piraeus and off into the Aegean. But it's Athens, basically, we were in Thursday night, and now we're at home to the team from the Athens of the North. Old Ricky for Edinburgh, and it's the same thing. It reeks of history. It's like Edinburgh Castle. You play in Edinburgh Castle when you play Hearts. It just reeks of history. It doesn't matter how trendy they get, whatever they try to do it themselves. There's something about that kit, that maroon as well. When you think of a maroon, if you're in Scottish, the first thing you think about Torino, okay, right, that's pomegranate, the Il Granata or whatever. It's Sparta Prague. They're morons, not maroon. But Petershill, Shotsborn Accord. Who else we go with them? Linlithgow Rose, Stenhousemuir, Arbroath, maroonish as well. It's the Jambos, isn't it? If somebody says maroon to you, just think Hearts. If you're any kind of Scottish football fan, and I've seen them when we beat them 5-0. According to Footballogy, that's the most I've ever seen Hearts beaten. We've done it a couple of times, or maybe 2 or 3 times. I've seen us beaten Hearts 5-0 on a few occasions. The biggest win for Hearts, it was like 2012 Scottish Cup final. I remembered. A Jambo friend of mine got me a ticket for the 2012 Scottish Cup final, and I'd never been to the Edinburgh Derby before, and I wanted to go to the Edinburgh Derby, so I went to Hampden, and Hearts won that 5-1, and I'd also been to the 1996 Scottish Cup final when we beat Hearts 5-1. That's one of the greatest days of football in my life, and Walter Smith winking at us and all that, and just, what a day that was. I'm the guy with the fist, the shaking fist, and the podium. There's always that nutcase in the old photographs of guys lifting the Scottish Cup. There's always somebody with a suit on who's in hospitality, is half bevied, and he's just their fists getting in the way and then shaking hands with the players. That was me. That was me and my sister worked for Ladbroke. She was an area manager, and she got hospitality right in front of the podium of the Old Hampden main stand. And that's the photographs of that day. There's somebody who's got a black suit on me, like orange. I'm talking about orange stuff, but it was kind of rusty, a rust-coloured shirt I had underneath it. First thing Richard Gough did after he lifted the double for Rangers in 1996 was shake hands with me. It was quite good. That was a great day. But so I've seen Hearts winning the Scottish Cup final 5-1 and losing the Scottish Cup final 5-1. I must be the only non-Hearts fan who's also not a member of the media, or maybe not a football official, who's seen that. Is there anybody else? Was it both the games, doesn't he? Anyway, I thought that's quite an interesting thing at my Hearts. But footballogy is quite interesting. You should get into it. I discovered, for example, that I've only seen St Johnstone 27 times. I feel as if I've seen St Johnstone 27 times this year, and yet I've seen Livingston 25 times. How the hell did that happen? I remember going to see Livingston when Almondvale wasn't even built properly, with a stand missing. I just went along to see them play St Mirren one day because I wanted to go to their stadium. I just wanted to see this new ground was like. And I feel as if I've seen them about twice since, but not 25 times apparently. I've seen Livingston. Anyway, sorry, this is silly. It's kind of silly stuff that gets me into trouble with these podcasts. That's why they're no tight. That's why they're not getting straight to the point. That's why you're switching off in your ones and twos, as I used to say. I'm going to do the deep dive. I'm going to get into I'm going to run the numbers. I'm going to crunch the data, and I can tell you, for example, that this is the fifth different kick-off time, fourth different kick-off time we've had on a Sunday this season. We played Hibs, Ibrox, 12 o'clock. We played St Johnstone, 8 o'clock at night. On the Sunday, we played St Mirren, Sunday, 3 o'clock, and now we're playing the Jambos at 5 o'clock on Sunday. Some Premier Sport. I forgot Premier Sport are covering league games this year. It's absolutely mental. It's causing absolute havoc with my diet. I need to get my 3 courses in on a Sunday. So, I'll get a steak pie. I had my chicken the night. I've got a steak pie, and by the time I do a wee post-match reaction pod, the morning, it's got 7:30 up the road. It could be 8:30 before I get a pie in the. You think I want to sit down at 9 o'clock at night and eat an entire steak pie with maybe a tin of beans and some tatties? I'll see what I can manage, but especially when all the chocolate's biased against me. But it's going to be a kind of weird weekend. I think Hearts are a point above Hibs. The really interesting thing for me for this game is we're going to get to see Rangers playing against a team who also played on a Thursday in Europe. Philippe Clement, as I've been bumming up over the last few weeks, has won every single one of his domestic games in the weekend following a European game. I don't know if any Rangers managers that, but talking about how he's gone 6 away games in Europe, 6 successive, all 6 away games he's been in charge of us in Europe. We haven't lost one of them, and they've all been against really difficult opponents in really hard venues. That's an amazing record, but more so, and I think an explanation, another thing that should go in to his credit, is the fact that he's not lost any of the games following those. That's a nightmare for most Rangers managers. Try to win on a Sunday after a European game. And we can, beating Hibs 1-0, all that kind of stuff. We can understand why the performance has been a bit down at Ibrox, but he's also hasn't dropped any domestic points, and he's won all his League Cup games at home. Be that Hampden or Ibrox this season. That's something that should go to his credit. A lot of talk about the fact that we've been absolutely terrible away from home domestically. See this stage of Rangers support is still at where we don't want to, have our hearts broken by another manager. It's gone south with Clement. We need to get rid of him. Blah blah blah. I think we need to look at it as a restart. It's a complete reset this summer. What he did last year, what he managed to get out of that squad when they were starting to fall to pieces. We lost Seema, we lost Cortez. It's no wonder things started going a bit south as we got towards the end of the season. But I think that needs to be separated from what he's doing now. That's nothing more than, again, showing that he knows what he's doing at a really basic level, Clement. And then we know the shenanigans in the summer. There's obviously clear negotiations. It looks like he maybe nearly walked, as far as I'm concerned, with this new contract extension that he got out of the blue. All the players went out. The less number of players, the fewer players that come in. I think we have to look at that as a total reset, though. And it's the comparator for me is Steven Gerrard. And when Steven Gerrard arrived, he arrived in the summertime. He arrived at the end of a season. And he was not downsizing the way Clement's squad is having to downsize. And we ended up starting that season with Alan McGregor. Well, at his peak, Alan McGregor, he wasn't vastly experienced to make up for any kind of slowness. It wasn't as slow as he eventually became. Alan McGregor, we had him in nets. You got Scotty Arfield arriving. You've got Ryan Jack, you've got Peak, Alfredo Morelos. It was a decent, not Daniel Kendace, whatever you. Were pretty good, Nick, under Gerrard, although he would have to improve the squad, and he did. He had other players in there arriving for that summer, and he was winning in Europe as well. He went an epic run through the European qualifiers to get us into a group stage when he first arrived, building that base through Europe while struggling away domestically. It was the 21st of October. I looked this up last night. I thought, is there a thing here, Alex? Just double check this before you open your mouth. But it's 21st of October, away to Hamilton Accies, before he won a domestic away game that season. Well, sorry, in the league, won a league away game that season. Steven Gerrard, and he'd lost to Celtic, last minute equaliser conceded with 10 men. We'll be up at Aberdeen. We lost away to Livingston. Dolly Mine, remember all that? We lost away to Livingston, and then when he beat Hamilton Accies the following week, we dropped points at home against Kilmarnock. See, Clermont hasn't dropped any home points, on touching wood so far. So it's Motherwell, remember the game where we conceded the last kick of the ball, 3 each game at Fir Park. So I feel as if we're along the same lines, and we got there eventually with Gerrard, didn't we? Hopefully we'll get there a bit quicker with Clermont, but if not, I think it's worth, until somebody drops a whole lot of money on us, we should stick with this project just now, because we've got a manager that's willing to see it through. I just feel as if Hearts, it's going to go one or two ways with them tomorrow. They lost at Heidenheim. So they lost to Heidenheim at home, a Bundesliga side. No disrespect to Hearts, but I think, especially the way they've started this Conference League campaign, 6 points from the first 2 games. There's only been 3 match days so far in the Conference League. They'll actually feel they're not used to qualifying for Europe. Not as often as ourselves. They've never been in a European final, for example, Hearts. So I think they've got a real. I only saw the reaction the other night. After, obviously, Hearts game was on after our game on TNT Sport, and I was, by the time I'd stopped following up with people on Twitter about how good that Rangers performance was against Olympiacos, I looked up and it was Derek McInnes and Michael Stewart in the studio in Tynecastle chatting about the game and showing you wee clips of how Hearts had conceded these 2-headed goals, but also Lauren Shankland hadn't managed to score again. He's having a slow season on the goal scoring front, but then listening to Colin last night in the Gersnet preview pod, and he'd seen the last 10 minutes of the Hearts game, and he was talking about how Shankland, though, has got the great combination play. He can hold the ball up and play in his fellow attackers, his fellow midfielders in a way that, his teammates, in a way that Cyril Dessers can't. The link-up play is definitely there. So it's actually scaring me a bit that Lauren Shankland isn't scoring the goals he should be scoring domestically. So it's like he's saving them all up for us tomorrow. He scored against us at 3 different venues last season, Lauren Shankland. He scored against a lot of teams last season, but I feel as if he's going to have a goal or two in him tomorrow if we're not on our game. But our Hearts, I think they might actually have a wee bit of a buzz. I think they'll say it's a Bundesliga side, albeit it's Heidenheim's first season in Europe. It's no disgrace. They beat Dynamo Minsk in, I think it was Azerbaijan. The game was played as a neutral venue because Dynamo Minsk are part of Belarus, are on Putin's side, basically, when it comes to the travesty they're wreaking on the Ukraine just now. So they're not allowed to play games at home. And then they beat Omonia Nicosia quite comfortably at Tynecastle as well. So they're doing well in Europe just now, the Jambos. They've got Neil Critchley in after a terrible start to the season, which the best result they got to start the season was the very first game of the season. They drew 0-0 with Rangers. Again, Cyril Dessers having a day to forget. Always in the positions. I don't know. As long as you're getting the positions, there's always a chance. But he should be putting away more chances than he has. There's no doubt about that. No doubt that we do need a new striker in January, Lauren Shankland. But Hearts, they went a run of like 5 games, 5 straight losses or something like that in the league, and Stephen Naismith eventually had to go. They brought in Critchley. I think that's when they beat St Mirren 4-0. St Mirren also having a bad start to the season because of Europe. They equalised late on in the Edinburgh Derby after that, so they've brought themselves back round, Hearts. But they'll have seen today that their Hibs are below them. They're a point below them in the league. They're at the bottom of the league. Hearts are second bottom of the league. It's then, I think, St Johnstone and Ross County, just a point or so, or 2-3 points in front of Hearts. All 3 of those teams lost today. They all lost today, so Hearts will be buzzing off that as well. So it's interesting to see how this is going to go. I would like to think the fact we've got home advantage will make the difference. We'll be slightly more tired because we've travelled. Hearts, but we're at home, so that will cancel that out. We need to see something tomorrow. It will also have a lot to do. It will be how Celtic go on at Robbie Park. If Celtic were to drop anything, it will improve the atmosphere at Ibrox tomorrow night. They'll be finishing just as we kick off, 5 o'clock, and it'll get a bit of buzz in the crowd. But it's also a pressure and expectation that we need to win this. We need to be catching up with Celtic. We need to be heading up towards the top of the league, and it'd be nice to do that. But that's basically down to Kilmarnock. I think if Celtic go down and are imperious at Rugby Park, which they could well be, I think Celtic are in for a special season. 3-4 nothing, whatever. That'll probably take make that kids. I'm not going to take numbers off the crowd. It's too late in the day. If you're going, you'll be going by that point to Ibrox, but it could affect the atmosphere. But Rangers just need to get this game won. I think I'm not fussy about the level we perform at straight after a European game. We just need to keep up this run of winning and keep the atmosphere going. Keep everybody on side. Do I have anything else to say? What's that, 40 minutes? God, that's probably the shortest pod I've done all season, if you even get a chance to watch it before the game kicks off tomorrow. The team, that would be, you should probably discuss the team, Alec, what you actually want to happen. I would have tradition, me being an old guy, would say that the team that got that great result in Piraeus, the starting 11 should be the same tomorrow. You reward that. I think I'm always, and it's Hearts, I saw this, so I've said this a million times, I'm really conscious of that, but a part of me feels as conscious as I am of how draining European football is. I think especially in this situation tomorrow, if our Hearts are as drained as us, I always think if a team gets a good result away from home, if it's starting to be a bit of a buzz about our team, let them play the next game, let them start the next game and take that buzz into the league game. There should be a part of them that's kind of, I can't wait to go in the park again. And the greatest example of that I can remember for Rangers, and there will be a greater example, no doubt, well, beating Celtic at Parkhead 1-0 after we'd won at Elland Road is probably maybe the greatest example of them all. But when we beat Rapid Vienna 3-1 at Ibrox, in the first big European group game back at Ibrox since before 2012, and we came out on the Sunday to play Hearts, and we were 3-0 up within half an hour. Alfie jumped up in the air while backheeling one into the net to score the first goal. We were absolutely buzzing. It was a continuation of the buzz we had from the kind of cinematic win over Rapid Vienna on the Thursday night. And I would like to see a bit of that, but I'm not going to get ahead of myself just now. We know that our manager is very heavily into the sports science, as he should be. He's trying to sort out the injury problems. But the only change I would probably make is to have proper dropped, because we're back to physical Scottish football, less cerebral, more physical Scottish football. Have proper dropped and get Balogun, or for me, Casson Weirjo probably should go in there to centre half and keep. I don't know what the injury situation is, but I would like to see Dujon Sterling starting the game. I don't know why he came off the other night. I don't know what the problem is, and I haven't heard anything on that. My research is bad. I'm too busy trying to find the chocolate that's not unlucky. But I would like to see Dujon Sterling at right back if he's fit. Casson Weirjo in there at centre half alongside Big Suter. Maybe Suter will get rested and we'll get Balogun in there. But I'm up for basically the same team, except maybe with that wee change of dropping proper. Maybe the manager will want to rest one of Barron or Raskin, given how much they put into that game the other night. I know they're young guys and all that, but Raskin in particular, coming back from long-term injury, sometimes you get to that point you can end up overextending it. If he was to drop one of this, ostensibly sitting to make it of Diamandi coming back, that would let Bajrami go in and finally play at 10. He only plays at 10 on a Sunday night at Ibrox. He did it against St Johnstone, didn't he? And because I've lost my Cosland coming in the left-hand side. I don't know, but I would like to see as close to the team. And that does, I acknowledge that does mean I'm saying James Tavernier can stay on the bench as far as I'm concerned. I think it's maybe that time. I don't know that he will. I won't be for or against it either, but whatever happens, I'll be happy to see Tav starting, and I'll understand if it doesn't. But the manager always throws a wee curveball in there with his team selections, and we'll see what happens. Are we wearing this new kit tomorrow? I don't know. I say that a lot in podcasts, don't I? Because I'm trying to tell you about Rangers. I don't know what's. You're going to. It's more like a call for help. Can somebody phone me up and let me know what's happening with the new kit? This 125th anniversary of Ibrox. It's a thing, isn't it? Commemorative kits, and it's great. If you don't have the money for it, that's. But it can be bad, I think, for folk with kids. They do feel a pressure to get them these kids, get them these kits, get the kids the kits. For me, it's like, if I don't want it, I don't buy a lot of merchandise. I'm well past the point of buying football strips, but I think it's nice. I think it's a nice thing to commemorate. I remember, like Arsenal going back to their old all red, all kind of maroon kit when they were leaving Highbury, the Dundee United doing the Dundee Hibs kit as well. And I think it's a nice thing. It's a nice thing for teams, nice thing for clubs. I'm not particularly fond of V-necks, but it's Yeah, it's fine. Did you see the Boo Radleys last night? The top of the pub. I mean, it was a bad weekend when I'm no going to a football match. I'm falling out with people in Morrison's because there's a lack of chocolate, and I'm watching Top of the Pops 2 on a Friday night, and that's, you're avoiding a drink, and sitting there and actually doing that thing that they tell, guess what year it is, you can't help yourself. And I'm like, all right, I remember this, man. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of the Boo Radleys. I wasn't a particular big. Boo Radley, he's the character from Thing with To Kill a Mockingbird, Harper Lee, in this Atticus Finch. Boo Radley was played by Robert Duvall, Tom Hagen and The Godfather. But he plays Boo Radley in the film, in which Gregory Peck plays Atticus Finch, the most kind of benevolent, saintly lawyer in all history. But interestingly, Gregory Peck also plays a lawyer in the original version of Cape Fear, where he's harassed by the Max Cady character, who's played by Robert Mitchum in this 60s film. Quite a very sinister, very dark film. And then he ends up playing Joseph Mengele later in his career. One of the most evil people, actual real people of all time. And the lawyer in Cape Fear, the guy who's been persecuted by Max Cady, isn't perfect, but he's not a bad guy. Joseph Mengele, pretty bad. And then in his last ever film role, Martin Scorsese does a remake in the early 90s of Cape Fear, and Gregory Peck plays the lawyer who's defending Max Cady. So he's playing like an evil lawyer. So it's a wee homage, a wee tribute by Martin Scorsese. You see the bit in the Goodfellas, you've got to pay your tribute, you've got to give the money to Paulie if and just tell folk you want it craps. A lot of young kids have a lot of this much money on you, and just tell folk you want it craps in Vegas. And this is Scorsese paying his tribute up the line, and he also gets Robert Mitchum in to play a policeman or a senior kind of a detective in that Cape Fear. And so the good guys are playing bad guys, the bad guys are playing, but Gregory Peck ends up playing. Boo Radley's I'm talking about last night, we're on Top of the Pops 2, and the drummer's got, it was a crap song, but the drummer's got, I fit my top on, my wife's like, oh, is that an Arsenal top? I'm like, what? It's only one white sleeve. It doesn't have two white sleeves. But well, you're Mr. Football. What is it then? What is this trip? And I'm like, it's the fact we don't have drink is what's making us fall out. And we're both bored at our skull. And I'm like, I don't know. It'll be some English team. And it's like, is it maroon? It's just the dark studios making it a bit. And I think I looked up Northampton Town and historical kits. The historical kits website, and they had a kit nothing like that in 19. I'm like, just info. I got to know the year now, and I could see it was. I went too soon. They had the big badge in the middle, and Adidas atop it in the round. It's the baggy era in like Germany Adidas kind of kit of Euro '96. That same template or whatever they call it. And I thought I should have known it was '96, but I went too soon just to find out so I could check it up. No, it wasn't that. It wasn't. And I said, where the Boo Radleys come from? And they come from the Wirral. It says, Tranmere Rovers away kit. I said, is it no a Liverpool kit? No, it's not a Liverpool. Just because it's red doesn't mean, I've never seen a Liverpool kit like that in my life. Is it Middlesbrough maybe? The drummer doesn't have to be for the Wirral. Maybe he came for somebody else. Is it Charlton or something like that? I'm looking up Wrexham. A lot of Welsh folk move up to Cheshire, into Scousland and that. And no, their strip was totally different at that time as well. Eventually looked at the sponsor, and it's actually I looked at it. Oh, they come for Crew Alexandra, that kind of part of it, and it was a Crew Alexandra kit for 1996. But under the lights, it looked maroon, and under the lights tomorrow night at Ibrox, I hope hearts are marooned. I'm trying to finish this off really, but have you picked your bin? The bin. It was the green and the brown bin this week. Sunday, bins got picked up first thing on Sunday morning. It means Saturday you've got to pick the bins out. That's practical stuff. I can't be bothered with that. At the weekend, I'm going to have to go and sort out the times in the oven as well. See if I've got time to make this steak pie when I come in the morning night. So yeah, if you want to know any more, if you want to know any more information on the campaign against unlucky chocolate, just look up www.weaveagrudgeagainstafingerofudge.com, and you'll get all the information you need there. And I will talk to you guys tomorrow night after, hopefully, is another 3 points for Rangers. Sunday night. I'll be outside Ibrox Sunday night. So see you Sunday. See you tomorrow night then. Okay, right. Okay, love you. Bye. Bye.